Welcome back to the channel, Soap fans. Today is a beautiful, albeit deeply emotional day, and we are diving into something that transcends the fictional borders of Port Charles. Grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's unpack a conversation that left us absolutely speechless. I cannot even begin to process what I just watched. Seriously, I am sitting here at 2 a.m., the glow of my laptop screen illuminating the dark room, and I am just reeling. Did you guys catch the latest episode of Maurice Bernard's State of Mind podcast featuring James Patrick Stewart? Because if you didn't, you need to stop whatever you are doing right this second and go watch it. I mean it. Go. Wait, no, read this first, because I have opinions and feelings and I need to get them out of my system before I literally explode. Seeing Maurice Bernard and James Patrick Stewart sitting across from each other, stripping away the mob boss suits and the Cassadine villainy, just laying their souls bare. It broke me. In the best possible way. And I've been watching General Hospital for years. Okay? We all know Sonny Corinthos and Valentine Cassadine are these dark, brooding, dangerous men on screen. But seeing Maurice and James just be human, it's jarring. And Maurice kicked it off by pointing out exactly that. They play these incredibly dark characters, but off-screen, their real lives have been an absolute mess at times. They literally have to fight their own heads just to get through the day. I mean, think about that for a second. We watch them entertain us, we critique their storylines, we yell at our TVs when Sonny is holding Pascal hostage in a warehouse, or when Valentine is lying to Carly, but behind the scenes, these men are fighting invisible wars. So, Maurice naturally assumes, because of the darkness he portrays, that James struggles with depression. But James immediately corrects him, and this is where I leaned in so close to my screen. Mine was anxiety to begin with. I medicated, he said. And guys, my heart just dropped into my stomach. He started talking about growing up in the 60s British rock scene. His dad was Chad Stewart of the famous duo Chad and Jeremy. Drugs and booze were literally everywhere around him. By the time he was 13 or 14 years old, that severe anxiety had morphed into this terrifying anger and isolation. Because of course it did. When you are a kid and your brain is on fire with anxiety, you do whatever you can to put the fire out. He admitted it worked at first, but then it completely ruined him. I am getting so emotional just typing this because we forget that these actors had whole lives and massive struggles before they ever landed in Port Charles. We see the polished, suave Valentine Cassadine orchestrating international plots, but we don't see the terrified teenager trying to numb his own mind. Remember his time on All My Children? If you've been watching soaps as long as I have, you remember him vividly as Will Cortland. He confessed that during his time in New York working on AMC, he was high all the time. All the time. He lived in a complete fog. He couldn't get work after a while. The woman he loved left him. He said, and this quote is going to haunt me forever, "The only person who loved me was my mom. I cannot." Just imagine being that young, on national television, and internally you are completely falling apart. Am I the only one who wants to go back in time and just give him a hug? But here is the part that actually made me cry. The turning point. He was 25 years old. He was staying at his brother's house, completely surrounded by self-help books, probably feeling like he was at the absolute bottom of the barrel. He looks out the window, and what does he see? A garden rake. A literal rake. So he goes outside and he rakes the lawn. It sounds so simple, right? But it wasn't about the leaves. It was about doing something, anything, for someone else. He said that small act took his mind off himself and filled a gaping hole inside him. He called it the beginning. And you know what? He put the plug in the jug not long after that. He got clean. And he stayed clean. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I just have to connect this to Valentine for a second. Is it any wonder James Patrick Stewart plays Valentine Cassadine with such incredible, heartbreaking depth? Think about Valentine right now on the canvas. He is risking his own freedom, flying to Geneva to meet with WSB operative Z to out Ross Cullum just to save Jocelyn and protect Carly. Valentine is a man who constantly tries to fill the hole inside himself by doing extreme self-sacrificing things for the people he loves. James brings that real-life understanding of redemption and service right onto our screens. When Valentine looks at Carly with that desperate need to be better for her, that is James channeling his own journey of finding purpose outside of his own pain. Okay, back to the point. Maurice completely agreed with James about how small things matter. Helping others matters. Maurice talked about how his own mental health advocacy started so small, literally just recording casual videos from his car. And now look at him. He has this massive platform, saving lives every single week. Then the conversation shifted, and if you thought the addiction talk was heavy, buckle up. They started talking about losing a parent. James lost his dad, Chad Stewart, on the 20th of December 2020. He talked about how he and his siblings spent his father's final months loving him as a verb. I had to pause the video when he said that. Loving him as a verb, focusing on caring for him day by day, action by action. But the aftermath of grief is never clean, is it? James admitted that after his dad passed, all the feelings he had been holding back just came flooding in. He and his siblings realized they had never dealt with certain things. There's stuff that we all have to deal with now on our own, he said. And isn't that just the truest thing about grief? It makes me think about what is happening on General Hospital right now. Grief is everywhere on this canvas. Lucas is quietly grieving Marco, which is why he jumped at the chance to help Sonny and Laura take down Pascal and Sidwell. Alexis and Sonny are still grieving Sam, and now they have to face Christina leaving for medical school in California. Lulu is dealing with the grief of missing years of Rocco's life, only to have him run away with Britt. The writers are mirroring this real-life messy grief perfectly right now. And speaking of Sonny, Maurice did not hold back in this interview either. He shared his own dark times, describing a breakdown that sounded absolutely terrifying. Months of nothing but darkness. He described it as, God and the devil fighting in my mind. God and the devil fighting in my mind. Let that sink in. We see Sonny Corinthos fighting physical enemies all the time right now. He is literally cornering Pascal in a coffee warehouse, giving him an ultimatum to save his own life, and plotting a deadly downfall for Jen Sidwell. But the real Maurice Bernard was fighting a war inside his own brain. And he was so honest about what saved him. With me, it was professional help that ended up saving my life, he admitted. I love that he said that. I love that he didn't sugarcoat it. Sometimes you need a doctor. Sometimes you need medication. Sometimes love and raking leaves isn't enough, and you need professional, clinical help. Maurice being so loud about that is exactly why I will always, always support him. It makes me look at Sonny's current storyline with so much more grace. Sonny is isolating himself, keeping secrets from Dante, dealing with Christina leaving, and trying to handle the Sidwell threat alone. That isolation is exactly what depression does to you. But then they got into the weird spooky stuff, and I was SO here for it. The synchronicities. Maurice talked about these bizarre, heartbreaking coincidences between his real life and his GH storylines. Remember when Sonny was dealing with Mike's Alzheimer's? Maurice's real dad got the disease. And then later, his character dealt with pancreatic cancer storylines, and his dad got that too. Maurice called these moments too much coincidence. But James Patrick Stewart, he called it synchronicity. He straight up said he believes in angels, and that these kinds of moments are the universe talking. Maurice agreed, calling them profound and proof of a loving universe. Am I the only one who got chills during that part? Because I definitely got chills. It's like the show and their real lives are bleeding into each other. It makes you wonder how much of the emotion we see on screen is acting, and how much is just these men bleeding their real pain into the camera. Think about Valentine and Charlotte. James Patrick Stewart plays a father who would literally burn the world down for his daughter. When he talks about loving him as a verb, regarding his own father, you can see that exact same active, desperate love in how Valentine parents Charlotte. Even right now, with Charlotte breaking into Windermere with Danny, Valentine is trying so hard to protect her. The layers are just incredible. And Sonny and Christina, Maurice Bernard has infused Sonny with this deep, terrifying fear of losing his children. Right now, Christina is preparing to leave Port Charles for UCLA. She's leaving after the trauma of losing her surrogate baby and the death of Sam. Sonny is going to be devastated. When Maurice talks about the darkness and the fear in his own mind, you can see how he channels that into Sonny's terror of being abandoned or failing his family. The way he acts out Sonny's grief is so visceral because he has lived through the absolute worst mental anguish a person can experience. And then they tackle the stigma. Because, of course they did. People treat mental health and faith like taboo subjects until they are literally drowning. James hit the nail on the head when he said, people have a problem with the word God until shit hits the fan. Yes, exactly this. Everyone wants to pretend they are fine and they don't need help or a higher power or therapy until the floor falls out from under them. How many times have we seen characters on GH hit rock bottom and suddenly find themselves in the hospital chapel? It's a soap trope, sure, but it is rooted in such intense reality. When the chips are down, when Ross Cullum is threatening everyone you love, when Jen Sidwell is shooting people in the chest, the characters reach out for something bigger than themselves. Maurice and James bringing that reality to a podcast just validates everything we love about this genre. Maurice agreed completely with James, adding that surviving the darkness makes you stronger. He literally pointed out that a year after he was at his lowest, a year after he wanted to give up entirely, he won another Emmy. If that isn't the ultimate testament to resilience, I don't know what is. The whole episode ended with this beautiful focus on just keeping going. They got through years of self-medication. They survived serious, life-threatening mental health battles. Therapy helped them. Doctors helped them. Helping others helped them. And now they are using their massive platforms to tell people they are not alone. Even when it feels like the darkness is going to swallow you whole. I'm sorry, but I just have so much respect for these two men. We spend so much time analyzing their characters. We dissect Valentine's lies to Carly and his weird dynamic with Anna. We debate whether Sonny is going too far with his mob tactics against Sidwell. We stress over Jocelyn being locked in a sub-basement with Liesel Obrecht and Rocco being on the run. But at the end of the day, Maurice and James are pouring their real, lived trauma and their hard-won resilience into these roles. That is why General Hospital works. That is why we have been watching for decades. Because beneath the soapy drama, beneath the cold fusion projects and the Windermere dungeons and the hit-and-run cover-ups, there is a beating heart of real human emotion. So yeah, I am typing this furiously late at night because I needed to share this with people who get it. If you haven't watched that State of Mind episode, do it. It will change the way you watch Valentine and Sonny forever. And if you are struggling right now, please take their advice. Rake a lawn. Call a doctor. Do whatever you have to do. Because you are not alone.